Well, you guys, look like it's over and done for Kwame and Kasia. And look like another couple might be really rocky. And then there is one other couple that is surprisingly doing great. So, hey, you guys, welcome back to Romance Review TV with Lady T. Got another recap of Married at First Sight, UK, Season 7, Episode 24. And we got to unpack this fifth and final commitment ceremony. So we're going to talk about it. But before we do, take a second to make sure you subscribe to the channel for all updates. And please don't forget to like and share. Okay, so we are coming off of part 2 of the homestays. And the homestay for Adrian and Thomas were pretty brutal. And looked like it was a little bit more eye-opening for Thomas because he got some decisions to make as we move into this last commitment ceremony. One of the things is the fact that he and Adrian are not having any intimacy and look like not just sexual but just even something as affection. So he's going to give more reasons why, but they got some things to think about. On the flip side though, Whitney and Matt are absolutely on cloud 9, 10, 30, whatever you want to call it, because she is just beaming, she's glowing, she's over the moon. Matt is happy. Obviously, they're living in the same apartment and they're making little, flirty remarks to each other and how they look at each other. It's surprising. I would have never expected. So they have decisions to make. As for Zoe and Jenna, pretty much they've made some strides. And the biggest thing is their situation with their living and kids. So they're going to talk about more about that as well. This couple is on the rocks right now. They are even not speaking to each other since they came back from Kasia's homestays. And a lot of that is predicated on the fact of how he responded to her serious moments and the fact of her sisters pretty much giving her the thumbs down, all three of them, including the friend, on Kwame. So she got some decisions to make. She considered herself single at the girls' night out. So, yeah, and that boiled over to a topic of conversation when they met with some of the other couples and their spouses right before, the whole commitment ceremony. And so, he's like, it seems like he's totally oblivious to, the energy in the room that Kasia is projecting. And, in his mind, he's like, I don't know what happened. Look like we took 10 steps back. And on the flip side, she's on the other side saying, I have some decisions to make. But at this point, I'm single. So she checked out. Now we got, of course, the conversation happened with, George and April. So far they're doing fine at this point. Same thing for the conversations that's being had with the other couples between Jenna and Zoe. They seem to be pretty happy again discussing the whole distance. However, Thomas is at an impasse. I think because of what his parents said, he's really giving it some serious thought. As for Sophie and Jonathan, they pretty much are doing fine. Jonathan is he's acknowledging the errors of some of the things that he had to say. And then, of course, Shanita is still stuck in this whole thing about Jordan need to be in love in order to move in with her. And it's really had her put up a wall at this point. And she's pretty much like, I don't know, maybe I need to second guess this. And I honestly don't think he meant it as deeply as she's taking it. So now we're over at the commitment ceremony. The first couple on the hot seat is Whitney and Matt. And of course, Thomas is giving them the side eye. He cannot stand Whitney. Well, whatever the situation is, they are happy. I mean, they're all smiles. They're just bubbling over, letting everybody know. And Thomas is just seething. I mean, even I think Zoe had some things to say, but, he had some things to say, meaning Matt. George and April are giving them the seal of approval. He is so happy about these two. But for the most part, they seem to be doing well. And from what I've seen, because I follow these two on Instagram, They seem to be doing well even months later after this whole experiment ended. Zoe was like, it's a disrespect to the process and all of that. And then, of course, we heard Thomas chime in. Matt told Thomas, you know what, because I guess Adrian felt that it took so much work and we had to go through so much work in the process. And he was like, well, if you had to put in that much work, what is the quality or the foundation of your relationship? He actually called their relationship fake. So, and then they turn around and say, who are you to be calling our relationships fake? And then, of course, some of the other couples are like, well, Thomas, you've been chiming in on a lot of people's relationships and calling it fake. So they kind of thought it was hypocritical of him to say so. How this all unfolded in the process, I can't be mad because of the fact that, you know, the experts let him back in. They let them have that. So now that they've chosen to be in it, they chose to stay with each other. They're very PDA with each other. I mean, I have seen a whole nother side of Whitney. I'm not saying that, you know, telling everybody, oh, you should like her now, but I just see a different side. George and April, at this point in the process, they are absolutely happy. Homestays did well for them, and George stated that. He was like, this is exactly what we needed. The timing was perfect. He got to meet her dad. Dad gave the seal of approval. You know, if it wasn't for everything that's going on outside right now with these allegations against him, I honestly think that they probably would have been a great couple. And of course, both of them decided to stay as they head into the final few days of this whole process. And so, yeah, they look pretty happy at this point. And I think they were still together until those allegations came out and April decided to leave. So, spoiler alert on that. As for these two, Thomas and Adrian, now they're on the hot seat. They had to talk about their homestays. And one of the biggest thing about Thomas' homestay is, like I said, with his friends and his parents. Because both sets of people said, I don't think this is going to work if there's no intimacy. And when he started saying to Adrian, I always love you as a friend, you always be in my life, I knew he was going to write leave at this point. Plus, he said what mom says goes. On the flip side, which I'm going to say is weird with this because it happened later in this episode, that the experts kind of, you know, I guess did something crazy to me, is the fact that they told him to rethink it after he said he was going to leave and then he said stay. That was weird, even though they didn't allow that for another couple. Jonathan and Sophie, they're getting along very well. Again, her dad's concern is about money and being able to raise a family, and you know, they said that they can figure that out. He's willing to do what it takes, and so they both decided to stay. So I don't see any problems for these two unless they make it complicated for each other, and he took accountability. Jenna and Zoe, it's their turn. They talked about the homestays where the families actually thought that, you know, they act like they've known each other for a long time. But the situation with kids and them moving, and what I said in my last recap is that maybe they need to meet in the middle and kind of move into their own space together. She brought that up, meaning Zoe, how maybe they need to meet in the middle and maybe come halfway. And I thought that was a good compromise. They both decided to stay. Is this going to work? Because Jenna, on the other hand, may not be so open to that, but they got to figure out everything when it comes to this whole residency and with children. Next up, Shanita and Jordan. Now, they've been my top couple all season until the last few episodes because, of course, Jordan spoke his truth by saying, look, I said the next relationship I was going to be in, I need to be in love with my wife or whoever it is before I move in. And because they're not there yet, that they love each other, but the in-love is not there, Shanita is in her head about all of this. And now she can put her walls back up, and she's kind of like taking 2 steps back. Now, when that came across on the couch, that did not sit well with Jordan, because Jordan was like, man, I put that comment out just to let you know that I'm pretty much serious. They ended up staying together, but I'm wondering if this is going to be an ongoing issue now at the end of this process for the two of them, as they were doing so great until now. Last but not least, of course, Kwame and Kasia. This whole thing to me is suspect, and I don't mean the fact that, you know, because he was very dismissive in his comments, and he apologized for it because of the fact that, you know, he was laughing when she was talking about having a child at 15. The only thing about this whole thing is the fact that everybody knew outside of this process why he did not take her and the cameras to his home, which had to do with his children. And the way that it looks is if it was something nefarious that he did and that he's hiding something. And the only reason I say that is because I've looked at both of their Instagram lives over the past week and a half, and it shows opposite to what we're being presented. And you know I keep it objective over here. However, I'm not going to dismiss the fact that she did feel some kind of way about how he was dismissive and kind of jokey about her comments and what she was trying to be serious in the moment about her and her, you know, her pathway coming up from having a kid at such a young age. She decided to leave. Now, when he decided to hit stay, the experts didn't tell him to do the same thing that they told Adrian to do. Because they had Adrian come back and say, well, the ball is back in your court. He wants to stay. Do you want to change or leave? They didn't ask Kasia to do that. So I just found that kind of interesting. But hey, listen, if they're over, they're over. And so I wish them both the best. And, you know, we'll see what happens with the rest of the couples as we get into the final week of this experiment. Okay, so let's get the conversation started down in the comment section. What do you think about Shanita? Do you think she's being too much into her head about this whole comment at the dinner party from Jordan? What do you think about Kwame and Kasia? He said he felt blindsided, however, and didn't read the room, thought the whole process at homestays went great, but then now they're no longer together and it's over. So, until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.